Hey mama, could you get up soon? I get so cold in the other room. Here I am running half awake.
Hey friend, welcome back to another writing vlog. This weekend we're going to be waking up early in order to test out a 5 a.m. writing routine while I try to make some progress in the first draft of my book, Project Reaper. Hi, my name is Charlie. Before we jump into the project updates, let's talk about the rules of the challenge first. The first and most obvious is that we're going to be waking up at 5 a.m. and we're going to be writing our little hearts out. I've read some studies recently that show that people are most focused in the mornings and that their creativity is at a peak shortly after they wake up in the early hours of the morning. So the plan is to take advantage of that and see if it applies to us. Secondly, I feel like winter mornings are already pretty quiet and cozy, which is perfect for concentration, and we can amplify that by setting the mood. Okay, so for the last rule, I recently watched a video by Christy Ann Jones where she was trying out Donna Tartt's writing routine. Apparently, Donna Tartt will write for at least 3 hours, but will continue if she feels like she's making good progress, if she's having a good writing day. Now, I'm not doing her full routine today. That's actually for another video that I've got planned for later, but I am going to borrow just a piece of it today, and that's just to write longer if the session is flowing. Fair warning, you're going to be seeing a lot of me undone and in my jammies because I'm trying to make this as cozy and realistic as possible. The funny thing is that I used to have a 5 a.m. morning routine just Monday through Friday, and I did actually feel I got a lot done. So hopefully we'll find out if that's still true. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the draft really quickly. So firstly, I'm on the last quarter of chapter 17. I wrote myself into a little corner last week. I think I figured out a way to work around it. It's just gonna involve me adding a couple of lines to the first half of the chapter. I think there's about 500 to 800 words left to write in this particular chapter, and then we'll move on to chapter 18. My characters are currently battling some creatures that attacked their camp while they were asleep. A lot of them are going to be pretty injured by the end of this chapter, so Rasmus, our male main character, is going to have to kind of take charge and help them because he's the only one who has the ability to do that right now. Also, Delaney is kind of feeling really out of place at the moment because she feels like the attack was her fault, and low-key it kind of was, but in her defense, she doesn't really have full control over her powers yet, so not exactly. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in another update, I think. Anyway, the goal for today is to finish up chapter 17 and get started on chapter 18. I did have some plans later, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to snow all day today, so that's probably going to be canceled. So after writing, we might just spend the rest of the day getting cozy and maybe doing some reading. I'm currently reading The Poppy War, and so far I'm entranced, so I kind of can't wait to dig back into that. Let me know if you've ever read that before, and if not, what you're currently reading. But anyways, I think it's about time that we get started, so I'm gonna pull up my laptop and we'll get to it.
All we need is someone else to hold. You found another place to float away, rising higher.
Hey, I'm about to jump into some cozy activities this afternoon, but I thought I would give you a quick update on how the writing session went this morning, and also there's some things about the draft that I really need to talk to you about. So let's get into it. The writing session this morning did not go at all like I thought it was going to. I sat down to write, and every single word felt like I was pulling teeth, and by 8 o'clock, I really felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere. I ended up writing around 345 words, so all in all, I didn't do too bad, but I was just so tired, like my brain wasn't really fully on. I think probably because I didn't really sleep the greatest last night. Considering the circumstances, I did pretty well. It just wasn't what I hoped it would be. I was co-hosting a live stream on Cody the Writer's channel with CK Jensen and Becca C. Smith this morning. I took a break around 8 o'clock to kind of top up my coffee and do some reading before jumping into that. By the time the live stream rolled around, I was feeling pretty unhinged, but like ready to go. You know what I mean? The mood was like fully exhausted and jittery, like in a wild way, and kind of intense because I was so determined to get through chapter 17. And I have some news for you. We are almost there, like this close. I think earlier I told you I had about 500 words left to write in the chapter, and I realized during the live stream I'm not very good at predicting word counts because we are 1072 words into the day, and I still have 1.5 bullet points left to write in chapter 17. I'm not even going to try to guess how many words that is. I've given up on that. But I do have another writing session planned later this evening with Hannah, and my hope is that I'll be able to finish out chapter 17 today. I have a good feeling about it, so I guess we'll see. Anyway, some things came up during this writing session that I really need to talk to you about. Okay, so I was writing this part of the chapter where Elio and our female main character Delaney get into an argument. Elio has been blaming Delaney for literally every single thing that's gone wrong on this journey so far. And if you remember from the last vlog, I mentioned that Elio and his brother Cyrus have not been very nice to Delaney, like pretty much ever. Well, for Elio, not much about that has changed. He's mean to her every chance he gets. He blames her for everything. And our FMC, being who she is, has a very low tolerance for bullies and thinks that the way he's been treating her is completely unfair, which it is unfair. I'm totally giving her that because this guy has actually thrown rocks at her for absolutely no reason at all and is just not being cool at all. But I'm not sure if I like how she's responding to it. So I originally meant for Delaney to be kind of animalistic in the way that she moves through the world. Like, not gonna lie, she's a little feral. Some of the things that she's done will make the reader question whether or not she's a good person. I mean, even Delaney questions whether or not she's a good person. But I also meant her to be this person who's come from a pretty rough place and who hasn't been treated the best. Up until the inciting incident, she's been sort of sitting back and taking it, even though under the surface, she's been almost defiantly resisting that victim mentality. Like, she's kind of known all along that she wasn't going to take it forever, if that makes sense. Her whole internal world is based off of the fact that she's really emotionally strong in the face of unfair situations, even though that's not always what she shows the outside world. And I wanted that mask to slip a little bit after we got past that plot point so that she could start showing more of her real self instead of what people expect her to be. And I think that maybe I've taken it a little bit too far because she's kind of coming off as a little bit mean. But she's not supposed to be mean. She's genuinely meant to be likable, but she is also morally gray. And I guess I'm just having a hard time figuring out how to get her to be both. Now, it's totally possible that I'm just way too close to this right now, and once I step away for a little bit, it'll become super clear. But hopefully by the next update, I'll have a little bit more clarity on how to get her across the way that I want her to. I might even ask Hannah for a little bit of feedback. She kind of knows a little bit more about who Delaney is. Anyway, we have some time before the next writing session. I think what I'm going to do is walk over to the store and grab some hot cocoa and play a little bit of The Sims because I'm just kind of in a cozy game mood and the weather is honestly perfect for it. By the way, does anyone else play The Sims? And if you do, how do you play? I usually do a legacy challenge, but I always get bored after the second generation and I just like delete my family and start over. It's a really bad habit. I've never actually gotten through a full legacy challenge before. Anyways, we will chat in the next update. I'm gonna bundle up and go get that hot chocolate.
First flake of snow is set to fall today. It comes to say that Christmas is on its merry.
It's late, but I wanted to give you a quick update before I went to bed. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the issues I was having with Delaney. Basically, what it came down to was that something was off about the way she was showing up on the page. I really wasn't able to figure out what the issue was, but through working it out with Hannah, I was really able to narrow it down to a specific line of dialogue that she says towards the end of chapter 17. Her characterization sort of breaks down here, and she sort of comes off as a little bit of an instigator. Now, we both think that the line could still work, but she sort of helped me to see that I'm gonna really need to add some additional backstory to Delaney's relationship with Elio and Cyrus before the start of the book. Alternatively, I could get rid of the line completely, but then it kind of lowers the tension between the two of them, so I'd have to figure out another way to do that. I don't really know exactly how I would work that out though, so I'm thinking that I'm gonna keep them and add additional backstory into earlier chapters, but this kind of goes hand in hand with this second issue that I realized while I was talking to her. So So basically what it seems like I'm doing is I'm getting caught up in all of the plot points and like the scene logistics, so much so that I start to forget to add Delaney's internal dialogue and her inner emotions. So the chapters start to feel a little cold and distant, which kind of makes it harder for me to write them because I'm feeling less connected to her as a character, obviously because I'm not really putting her on the page. In the moment, I don't actually even realize that that's happening. So that's when I sort of start to feel like I'm spinning my wheels and my progress sort of slows down. And that's exactly one of the reasons why it's so important to have a writing community and people you can lean on to sort of bounce those ideas off of and talk out the problems that you're having in your draft. Because I honestly don't think that I would have noticed that if Hannah and I hadn't been having a conversation about it. Now, do I think that's the whole issue? Not even close. But it's definitely something that I'm going to be keeping in the front of my mind moving forward if I ever get stuck again. Just really quickly, let's talk about all the progress that I made in the draft. I'm so happy to say that your girl finally finished chapter 17, and we're finally starting to see some movement in Act 2. I actually still have a lot of chapters left to go in the fun and game section, but we're working our way through it. That being said, I ended the day with a little bit over 2,000 words added to the draft. Now, it is nearly midnight and I'm exhausted. Also, I'm supposed to be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, so I don't even know what I'm still doing up. I'm gonna get ready for bed and I will see you in the morning.
Oh, I can sing, I can dance, I can learn to smooth moves. I would do anything you ask me to do. Jump out on the stage, get locked up in a cage, director.
So, if you thought that I was gonna get up at 5 a.m. on Sunday, so did I, and we were both wrong. So basically what happened was I went to bed at midnight, just a little bit after midnight, and yeah, I slept through all 3 of my alarms. That did not go according to plan, and I thought that maybe I would just pick up there where I woke up and do it that way, but I wanted this to be a true 5 a.m. writing routine video. So I ended up not doing that, obviously. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just wake up Monday early, 5 a.m., right until I have to get to work. I slept through my alarm that day too. So it's Tuesday. Hi, welcome. And it's currently almost 10 p.m. I did do my 5 a.m. morning writing session though this morning, as you saw from the b-roll, and obviously because this is a weekday, I've decided I'm just gonna go ahead and write at night too to kind of make up for lost time. Yeah, so let's talk about the progress that I've made today and everything that's been going on in the draft. So currently the draft is sitting at 34.5 thousand words, which is really exciting. Today I wrote a little bit over 1,300 words. Part of that was this morning and the rest of that was in the live stream that I was hosting over on Cody the Writer's channel. So tomorrow what I would like to do is do another writing session in the morning at 5 a.m. maybe work a little bit in the evening as well. It kind of just depends because I really need to start editing this vlog to get it out to you in time for Saturday. I am trying so hard to be consistent. Unfortunately, I've had a couple setbacks this week, but I'm hoping that it's not gonna like prevent this video from coming out when it's supposed to. That being said, the goal tomorrow for the draft is to just work a little bit on chapter 16 because I did decide to go ahead and start that chapter this morning. I want to finish that tomorrow if possible. Anyways, we are currently working on chapter 16. In this chapter, our characters have escaped the threat at the end of chapter 15, and they're currently just trying to figure out how to get along. There is a lot of tension between Delaney and some of the other characters, specifically Elio. He's being real mean to our girl Delaney. Unfortunately, he did do something like pretty extreme in this chapter, but after writing the scene between her and Elio and just the way that he was treating her, I think that the way that she responds to him in chapter 17 doesn't feel so extreme because there's like a gradual buildup of things that have happened that kind of make her snap in that chapter. I think that as a reader, it'll feel justified the way that she's acting towards him. I think that the reason why I was struggling with it so much is because I hadn't really written all of that down yet. And now that I've like sort of backtracked into chapter 16 and realized, okay, there's another part of this where they're having conflict, it makes a lot more sense to me now than it did yesterday. I do think that it could maybe be toned back a little bit, but I am definitely happier about how she's reacting to him now that I know that this is a crucial part of chapter 16. Some other things that are happening in chapter 16 is basically Delaney and the other characters are going to find out some things about Delaney's past. There's a lot of world building that's happening in here and character backstory that's like super important to the A story throughout the book. Basically, it's going to shed some light on exactly how abnormal Delaney is. There are a couple of things that I've noticed that I'm not really super fond of, which we will talk about in a second. But first, I kind of want to just like touch base on Elio and his characterization right now, because I know you guys are probably thinking like, oh my gosh, Elio is not a very nice person. Elio is sort of opposite of Delaney in the sense that when he's afraid, he acts out, he lashes out at people. When Delaney is afraid, she sort of retreats into herself until it becomes too much for her, and then she sort of like fights back. Elio's acting out of fear right now, which is why he is acting so extreme towards Delaney. There's a lot of fear surrounding Delaney. A lot of this is going to be explained in chapter 16, and Delaney's going to have a talk with Elio's brother Cyrus. Cyrus is going to explain a little bit about how his brother is just afraid. Does it excuse his behavior? Not a chance, but it sort of gives a little bit of perspective for where he's coming from, which I think makes him a lot more likable, at least in these earlier chapters. Down the line, he's definitely going to be even more likable. Overall, I'm feeling pretty happy about the way all of the characters are being portrayed. I think that Rasmus could be a little bit more active, and also I think that there's something wrong with his character, specifically in regards to how he is like so quickly warming to Delaney. I feel like I kind of went from 0 to 100 with his character a little bit too fast, too soon, and I think I need to kind of dial it back a little bit so that it doesn't seem so unearned. That being said, I am having some other difficulties at the moment, so let's talk about those really quick. I'm basically struggling a lot with the voice in this book. I do feel like having a consistent voice kind of comes through being consistent over time and through revision. Honestly, I've never written something this long where the voice was consistent, but in this particular project, it's starting to be really frustrating because I can see it happening in the moment, but I can't exactly figure out what's going wrong or how to fix it. The voice in the earlier chapters was a lot more consistent. It was really strong, and I think that that's probably because that's when I felt most inspired by this project. And while I'm still loving the project, I have to admit that my inspiration is waning just a little bit. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure how to reinvigorate that feeling. What I do know is that it's most important for me right now to just get the story out of my head and onto the page, but I have to admit that it has been pretty hard not to feel like this is some sort of fault with my writing ability or just like my abilities in general. I have been trying some different things, such as like actively thinking about my projects when I'm not working on them, particularly before I go to bed at night, which does seem to be helping me get words down the next day. Let's talk about the 5 a.m. writing routine for a second and how that's going. We're gonna make this super quick because like I said, it's kind of late and I want to get to bed so I wake up super early for tomorrow's writing session. So long story short, I'm loving it. I feel like getting up early, especially in the winter time, is just like so quiet, it's cozy, it's warm, it's just you and your project, and the only thing that you have to do is write. Honestly, the words haven't been flowing the way that I thought that they would or that I expected them to, but I think that it is possible to get back to those creative mornings if I kept at it consistently. And even though I haven't been getting a lot of words done during the 5 a.m. writing sessions, I do feel like they've been a really good warm-up just for my brain getting ready for the day and for later writing sessions, because I have noticed that when I write later in the day after that 5 a.m. writing session, it's a lot easier for me to like reconnect to the project, get into it right away, and have a bigger word count by the end of it. Now, I know that word count isn't the end all be all for the writing sessions and everything. My problem is kind of twofold in that because I struggle with focus, I sometimes leave a writing session only writing like 100 words, and that is really stressful for me because this is a really big project yet. I'd like to make more progress than that, obviously, and kind of build up that stamina. So that's one of the reasons why I'm using word counts as the benchmark. I don't necessarily think that it's had a huge or major effect on the prose at all. I think that that's strictly because I am still struggling with like that inspiration piece, and I find that my best words come when I'm writing while inspired, and that hasn't happened for me in a while. Anyways, it is getting late, and as I mentioned, I do not want to have a repeat of what happened on Sunday and Monday, so I'm gonna go ahead and get ready for bed. We have one more day of the 5 a.m. writing routine, and I plan on making the most of it. So I will see you guys in the morning for another writing session, and I'll let you know how everything goes.
It never rains in California. The sun is always shining bright. People are smiling, making plans, hiding behind their shades, and you're doing the same. No rain, no flowers, nothing's growing where you're at. Heart is fire, but baby, I bet you're cold.
Oh, hi. It's currently almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I really need to film this update before the natural light is gone. This is one thing that I really dislike about this time of year, is that there's no lighting. And so because I work a 9 to 5, it's really hard sometimes to find good lighting. We are making do with what we have, so sorry if that's been kind of all over the place throughout this vlog. Anyways, I wanted to give you a quick update on the progress that I've been making in Project Reaper. First things first, let's talk word counts. So I am now at 35,000 words. Today during this morning's writing session, I was able to add an additional 1,034 words, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I'll put it up on the screen somewhere. And the writing session went really well. I feel really good about all of the progress that I'm making. I'm loving my characters right now, particularly the relationship that's building between our main female character and Cyrus. He is a real one for sure. He's just trying to help Delaney understand his brother a little bit more at the moment, and just kind of trying to make her feel more at ease in the group. Delaney, on the other hand, is feeling really out of place right now. She feels like she doesn't quite gel with this group very well, and obviously with the way that a couple of the people in this group have been treating her, it's no wonder that she feels that way. I wrote this little piece during the last writing session where she was sort of thinking about maybe sneaking off on her own. She's going to be stopped. I just have to add that. I haven't actually finished out that scene yet, but I'm really liking how her interiority is coming out on the page right now. That was something that I was struggling with, but now that I've kind of made that a firm reminder every single time I jump into a writing session, I've been really good about adding those little pieces of what she's kind of feeling on the inside. Let me just like gush for a second about the world building. I'm kind of in love with the world building, and I'm not talking about like magic systems and like the societies and stuff. That's a part of it, but I'm more so just gushing about like the landscape. Where the book starts, they're in sort of like this really lush green meadow. There's forest to the north, and to the south of that, Delaney's never actually been because it's outside of the city. And so when she travels past that, she realizes that the world outside of where she lives is sort of like this really vast desert. I'm just getting a lot of really cool visuals, I guess, in this chapter, and the like coming chapters will have a lot of really cool visuals, and then they're gonna have to like go through a mountainous region. I don't know, I like that kind of thing, I guess. Let's talk about the 5 a.m. writing routine for a second and how that's all been going. I actually woke up a little bit before my alarm this morning at like 5:45. I did go to bed a lot earlier last night. I woke up feeling really refreshed, but still kind of like my brain, I feel like it hasn't fully adapted to waking up at 5 a.m. again. So this first writing session of the morning took me a really long time to get into, and I kept writing. I was very lucky today because I had a very slow day at work. I only had 3 interviews. There weren't a lot of applicants coming in. This kind of happens during this time of year. It slows down a lot, so it leaves me with a lot of time. So I sort of just like wrote up until breakfast. I made myself a little breakfast, as you saw in the B-roll, and then I jumped back in for another riding sprint. I think that today was probably the easiest of the 3 days of this challenge for sure. I think a lot of that has to do with sleep quality, but I just felt a lot clearer and the words were coming out a little bit easier, especially further into the sprints that I got, which made me realize that there's actually something to that little piece of Donna Tartt's riding routine, because I felt like the longer I kept pushing myself, the easier it was to actually get the words out of my head, which is really nice. And for that reason, I think what I'm going to do is in the next vlog, try out Donna Tartt's riding routine. And maybe it will help me get like further into the project or inspire some new ideas or something. Let me know what your favorite ways to spend winter are. Do you like to do any fun activities in the winter like sledding? And also let me know what your favorite winter beverage is in the comments. If you've made it this far in the video, feel free to leave a snowflake emoji in the comments, just because I've been loving this whole wintry vibe and I think that this video, it was just kind of cozy. That being said, that's going to be the end of the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe if you're new here. As always, I appreciate you and I will see you in the next one. Bye!